Okay, great. Any other questions? Oh, all right, fantastic. So we have just a little under 10 minutes left. So Mr. Kennedy is gonna talk very briefly about computer and technical skills. And Mr. Kennedy, we can keep it pretty short if you want, and then we might have time for one more question to pose to the students, but I will turn it over to you for computer and technical skills.
All right, if you're not a computer and technical skills person, this conversation is probably going to be a little boring, but I'll try to keep it as short and sweet. Here at the airport, we use basically the same technology that you all do. I have an Apple Watch, I have an Apple phone, I have an Apple computer. That's pretty much it. We do Microsoft Word, Excel. Now, for the pilot side, it's a little more tricky because they have onboard equipment that helps them fly the aircraft, helps them navigate the aircraft. Everybody's heard about autopilot, correct? Well, how many of you have heard about an airplane that auto lands itself? Your pilot, if you fly to Myrtle Beach and your pilot is tired and doesn't want to land the aircraft on their own, we have instruments here called navigational aids that will link up with the pilot's onboard navigational aids and just basically land it for themselves. If you think about the cars that can parallel park themselves, same idea. We have VASIs and PAPIs. VASIs are visual approach slope indicators, and PAPIs are precision approach path indicators. Basically, that's high technology for it lands the aircraft. So at the airport, we're not so much technology as the airport itself has a lot of technological issues and things that the pilots use. And that's pretty much the technical side of an airport. And I would have to bring a pilot in here to talk more about those. My department does inspect the equipment to make sure it's working properly. But once we inspect it, if it's not working properly, we just report that to the FAA and they come out and fix it.
All right, fantastic. And one question I want to pose, it sounds like Mr. Kennedy said they have the, and I'm going to mess up the technology's name, but where they can land the plane via technology if they get tired. Like he mentioned, now cars have technology where they can parallel park for you if you get kind of the newer update. And Mr. Kennedy shared with me in a phone conversation last week that technology has actually been around for quite some time. I believe you said about 10 years, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so now just, the civilians, common everyday citizens are now getting access to that technology through these parallel parking cars. But let's think back, what is a piece of technology, either computer technology, skills, or software that, let's say 5 years ago was not very prevalent? It might have been around, but people weren't really using it. And now it's very, very prevalent. Everyone uses it pretty much every day. Let's think within your own individual classes, talk about it amongst your fellow interns. What's a piece of technology or software that you did not utilize 5 years ago that now you pretty much use at least weekly or maybe every day? Let's talk about that for just 1 or 2 minutes, and then we'll come back together.
Zoom and like the teledoc, like where you can call in, like have a doctor report and everything. I think I just saw my buddy in high school. He has a Tesla. I think the Teslas have auto where just driving with them. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of recalls up here.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a case that somebody did that, but the Tesla veered off by itself and was driving, and ran into like the guardrail and stuff and killed the driver.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's risky. It gives you a self-driving car. Yeah.
I had to drop myself.
Okay. Let's start with St. Albans High School this time. What is a piece of technology or software that you might utilize every day or at least every week that 5 years ago was not even a thought?
Did you say St. Albans? You kind of cut out.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, like we use Schoology to like check our grades and stuff. And like 5 years ago, Schoology like wasn't even a thing. We all used Ngrade to check our grades. So now we have Schoology.
Yeah, that's a great point. And especially with all of the e-learning and remote learning, Schoology is even more important than ever. So great answer. Capitol High School, what about y'all? And you're muted if you're talking. Am I breaking up?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Capitol, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to, okay, there we go. Okay.
What technology 5
The
years
app,
ago?
We didn't really like think of any like technology, but like we know like of apps that like we use.
Sure, yeah, that works.
use.
That's technology.
So
Yeah.
we've been talking about all these new apps that the students use. It's pretty interesting.
Cool. What are some examples?
There's this app called like Socratic where like you can look up like any problem, like it's like you scan like this photo, like a question on anything, and it'll look it up for you.
So instead of having to type, like, you know how us old people, we go to Google and we type something out? Well, they don't have to do that now with this Socratic app. It just take a picture and it does it
Wow.
automatically, take them straight to the answers.
Where was that when I was in college? Wow, that would be awesome.
That's what
That's super cool. I haven't heard of that one. Very
I
cool.
know, I'm
Yeah,
just-
that's great. That's a good point. Yeah, an app is technology, and even 5 years ago, I mean, apps were nothing like they are today. Great point. Thank y'all. All right, Herbert Hoover, y'all, will round it out with y'all. What is a piece of technology or software or app that y'all use now?
Okay, ours was Zoom, and what'd you say, Teledoc?
Yeah.
And like Teledoc, where you can have a phone call with a doctor. That like 5 years ago, no one would even think about like having Zoom conferences. Like it was always just like, especially with like the e-learning, with like the iPads now, and like school going like towards the like more technology side. It's crazy. Like it's crazy to think what it will be in like 5 years from now.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Mr. Kennedy and I were talking about Zoom before everyone got on the call. Even a year ago, Zoom was not really something that really anyone utilized unless you have, different businesses and departments in different states or even different areas. And now, I mean, it's a way of life since the pandemic. So that's a great answer. All right. Any final questions for Mr. Kennedy before we close out our training module today? I know we're running short on time. Okay, doesn't look like it. Well, thank you all so much for your participation today and your engagement. And Mr. Kennedy, thank you so much for such a wonderful training module. That video was awesome. I learned a lot, and we really appreciate your time. Everyone, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next Monday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.